First, I'll say continue. Right. First, I would like to thank everybody for turning up. Thank you, Heidi. Thank you, Julia, for coordinating and arranging this meeting. So my topic is why computer science needs art and humanities. Everybody needs computers. Everybody needs a computer scientist. Every subject needs computer science. So, why there? Right. I think probably a lot of colleagues here are familiar with this quote, programmers are tiny gods. That is from a blog from 2009. In Genesis, God creates things in a certain order. Programs are works the same way. So programmers are the gods of their tiny world. They create something out of nothing. In their command line universe, they say when it's sunny and when it rains, and the tiny universe complies. So therefore, the tiny gods seems to be works fine. Do tiny gods need humanities? So my answer to that is definitely you do, because the medium is the massage. So that is not a typo, it is indeed a massage. So this is a quote from a communication theorist, Michelle McLuhan from 1967. So from my background, our media people, we realized the importance of technology a long time ago, way before the commercial use of the internet. So Michelle McLuhan basically was trying to say is, for media studies in our field, before he said that in the 1960s, we focus on content. We research about the political economy of media. We research about representation. But one thing fundamentally essential is technology. So therefore, we need to look into that. The technology is not just only the give us message, but also massage us. What he said, massage is all media work us over completely. They are so pervasive in their personal, political, economic, aesthetic, psychological, moral, ethical, and social consequences. They leave no part of us untouched, unaffected, unaltered. So therefore, the importance of a technology has been way long ago recognized in the communication and the media areas. So therefore, what we can bring to this discussion is the role of technology in society, the impact of technological innovation have in shaping and being shaped by society. If we think the final destination of any creative technological innovation is our human society, of course, therefore, you need us from arts and humanities. So I just want to share my small research portfolio with colleagues here. From 2011 onwards, I've been doing some research in the area of digital inclusivity, working with charities such as Action on Hearing Loss, RNIB, Deafblind, and recently Wales Inclusion Strategy, and also work with broadcasters and other third parties. So what I try to do here is to researching how people with sensory impairment cope in the digital world. I don't have time to go through all the names here, but as you can see here, we started as a small media team, then we gradually invited computer scientists to join us, and they are the person knowing all about technology, and I am the troublemaker. I am the troublemaker asking the silly questions such as, the technology is great, but is it equally enjoyed by all members of the society? Who's falling behind? Can we offer any alternative ways to include them? Well, I understand that these people are not programmers, but maybe there is a way for us to include them in the design of your next product. So I am very grateful that I work with computer scientists who share my concern, who worked very hard to bringing these concerns into the research agenda. So what my colleagues from College of Arts and Humanities are doing way more exciting project. Here you have to put up with me for putting on a little advertisement for CODA, Center on Digital Arts and Humanities. It has been a hub for interdisciplinary research. For the project listed here, Dr. Langland led the team working on the Welsh Copper Project, how we preserve heritage in a digital era. And Professor John Tucker and Steve Williams, History of a Computing Collection. Professor Dan Power and other Dr. Archbold and Professor Xie from Computer Science working on the project on historical maps and many, many other projects. So what we offer here from Arts and Humanity, we offer projects on how to preserve our civilization, how to preserve our culture, and how to revive that in the digital era. And also very interesting things such as under-researched areas of feminist writers, how we bring that to the attention of the younger generation of researchers in the digital era. There are also my colleagues tackling the most recent cutting edge issues, such as political election and the gambling sites, dark web, and consumer VR and AI and its social, political, economical implications. And Nuria's research with Bob's research on visualizing the dynamics of social media, if I remember correctly, is trying to map out the communicative patterns of online grooming. And Kasha's very cool project on Egyptian demon things. So all those issues matters to our daily life, matter to everybody's life, matter to the next generation. So what I was I was offered this opportunity to take over the directorship of a CODA during the COVID-19 lockdown. I see this as a great opportunity because the COVID-19 lockdown totally offers a whole new world how we interact with digital technology. On the one hand, we rely on digital technology for almost like everything. But on the other hand, the other issues, kind of the darker side of the issue started emerging as well, like surveillance, like privacy, like misinformation. But as I said, also there are the other issues like e-learning, digital intimacy, health communication, disability and health inequality. So COVID-19 is clearly a crisis. In Chinese language, crisis is translated into 危机, which means two Chinese characters, means danger and opportunity. So I see COVID-19 offers us the same thing. There's the potential dangers there, and there's also opportunities. So it's a whole new world for us to re-examine digital humanities. Probably digital humanities never been so relevant as one of the most important interdisciplinary research areas. So therefore, it's a small talk, 10 minutes. I hope I didn't, almost a bang on time. So as ever, we need computer scientists. We need to work with you. And I hope you believe we are useful to you as tiny gods as well. And the CODA as the hub has encouraged and fostered so many excellent projects, interdisciplinary projects in the past. Would be the hub, hopefully, for the future collaborations between us. So therefore, I really open the rest of the session to suggestions and discussions with colleagues. Thank you.
Thank you, Jan. That was great. And yeah, as we do every week, please, anybody that's got questions, just jump in and that'd be great.
Sure. Can I ask? This is Adam. Hi.
Hello, Adam.
I also sent you a little email so that we could connect about this later. Is Swansea University part of any digital humanities networks? Because there's some very big ones in Europe and some very big projects, but I've not heard about connections between Swansea and the networks otherwise, and I figured you would be best placed to know.
Oh my goodness, the short answer is I don't know.
Okay.
I will ask. I just took over this.
Yeah.
My knowledge is probably not. I will ask the previous directors and find out. But that's a great suggestion, Adam. Thank you very much.
Sure. And if you like, I'm happy to share links of things that I've had. I was previously rather heavily involved in digital humanities, and I'm very happy to hear of more activity at Swansea, and I find some way to participate in that. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you so much for offering that help. I will definitely get back to you by email. Let's stay on that discussion.
How big is the network of individuals who, who sort of sign up to the centre?
It's again, I think previously when computer science was on Singleton campus, because of the close proximity, I think the collaboration was very the collaboration between the two colleges are quite active, and there were many colleagues. There is no proper, to my knowledge, there's no proper like the membership you sign up to. The mailing list, I should check the mailing list how many people sign up there. I think with computer science move to the Bay campus, that distance to a degree hinders the interactions between us. So, but via Zoom and other digital means, I think that gives us a new chance to connect together. Let's see how many people on that list. No, I can't. Sorry, John, I can't see that. I'll find out how many people.
Do you have a web page where people sort of identify themselves as supporters?
There is a web page. I could search and find that web page here.
I do know that a long time ago, someone wrote a paper, and I think it could have been with Alexander Roberts or with Steve Williams, where they tried to list activities that could be classified as digital humanities.
Is this the page?
That's it, is it? Right.
That is the page set up, I think, back to 2014.
Right, yes. That's probably the result of that poll of interested parties, yes.
Yes. That's set up by Professor Tom Cheeseman.
Right.
When CODA was the first set up. I did go through that and try to find out membership. I can see the events archive. The most recent one is a talk organized by CODA and Political Analysis and Governance Research Group. So I can't find an area showing the membership.
Okay, right. I see login, so obviously somebody has been encouraged to create some sense of membership. That's what I think I'm really asking about. The way I look at what you said, you see, is that it's clear that there are people working together, and in particular, people from computing and potentially engineering getting involved with issues that would be squarely digital humanities, and that's great. But, the sort of question about networking and finding out about things is something that the centre you know, sort of kind of does with occasional emails, because I get these emails. But it strikes me that now that you are going to sort of run it out of media studies, it strikes me that you have a hard decision, and that is, what are the sort of desired goals? Is it to just have a bigger long list of bilateral research arrangements? Is it to try to grow it or mediate it? Some of the things you listed there are very substantial, so they're definitely something that you know, very solid. But I was thinking about Adam's comment. You see, there is a sort of whole parallel world of these digital humanities activities that have been going on for over 10 years.
Yeah.
And it would be nice to get a feeling of what Swansea would like to do with this, and what, for example, the College of Arts and Humanities thinks about it.
That's right. I had a discussion with our research director, Professor Jonathan Bradbury from Arts and Humanities. We have a few ideas how to plan out the activities for the coming year. I personally felt this, as I just said in my presentation, I felt COVID-19 probably put this digital humanities higher on the agenda for research. It's definitely the right time, I think, to put more efforts into this center to make it more inclusive. Probably, I think, in terms of membership, I think it's probably the time to send out another email to colleagues, encourage more active participation. And the other thing we thought could do is probably organize some kind of sandpit opportunities, workshops, having an invited speaker who's the expert in digital humanities to encourage dialogue between computer scientists and people from arts and humanities, and coordinate possible research aiming for external fund application. I personally felt there is another area we could do is the postgraduate research student. The center, based on what is presented here, we showed a strong record of staff doing research, but my personal experience is, at least in media studies areas, there are a lot of PhD students doing research in a similar area. I think they should be included into this community as well, and probably they could play some even more important role in organizing things like website. The important thing I've felt is there are quite a lot of research centers currently in the university. I know based in engineering, there's the new AI research center, or I think that's a research center, artificial intelligence. What makes this center different from the others? How this center can work with the other centers? So that is quite a lot of questions. I need time to find out and make this center, on the one hand, has its own character, as Adam suggested, probably connect and network with other parallel centers in the country, but at the same time, probably also thinking within Swansea University, how we could reach out to colleagues from other centers.
So what would be your hopes then? So, for example, are there people that you know who work more theoretically on issues to do with media? I mean, I was very friendly with Dave from Media Studies, who went to Sussex, and who wrote many theoretical books in and around software and its sort of wider, more abstract role in developing organizations and society and so on. And I, you know, because obviously a standard relationship with computer science is somebody wants some software knocked up, or there's some new technology that has come along, and which people feel that would be fun, let's do that. And of course, 10 years later, the whole thing is absolutely unworkable and unrepairable and a failure, because none of this stuff is easy to preserve. Nevertheless, it moves forward. And if you take, for example, the copper quarter, that really is the creation of Hugh Bowen,
Yeah.
who really had an enormous effect on taking hold of the council by the scruff of the neck and various funding bodies and rescuing an otherwise neglected corner of the Morpher area, which of course is rich in history. But
Yeah.
so I just wondered really how we can sort of build. Another thing I wanted to point out to you is that Farron Muller and myself, for example, are very active in outreach work.
Right.
And in particular, one component of that is education.
Yeah.
And we attend meetings of something called Qualifications Wales. Now, Qualifications Wales is the legal entity that controls the recognition of qualifications in Wales. And so, for example, if there is a qualification in, I don't know, history or in nail technology or hairdressing or whatever, there's hundreds of these things. Qual Wales has a thing to say about it, and they're very thorough and very professional. But they have created a new qualification that they want to launch into the schools. And in order to do this, they need to create a specification, which then the examining boards, like the WJEC or Oxford and Cambridge and so on, can bid to provide examinations. And this will be called digital technology. And the idea is that it provides a more rounded view of digital technology as we understand it today. So in other words, it has components where the sort of things, or some of the sort of things that you mentioned today, would find a home. Mm-hmm. And that this would be in the school system, both at O level and A level. And Farron and I are absolutely gung-ho on it. And our pal, Tom Crick from Education, is also active in this. So there's at least 3 people actively involved. And our big wish, which because of the tedious bureaucracy of this university, is simply to produce a degree course on it. And it would be quite interesting for media studies type people, for example, possibly some geographers, possibly some others, to lend a hand, because there's going to be no positions coming, because the university is going to be facing a huge financial crisis as soon as we stop worrying about the lockdown. So it would be interesting to gather a lot of intelligence in the sandpit from what everyone is going on. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
There's an enormous amount, as you said, PhD students, also than people doing stuff. And it would be great if you could accumulate this stuff and share it.
That's exactly what I think is thank you very much for that information, John, because Jonathan told me about Professor Crick's work in this digital qualification education area. I didn't know much details. I haven't had a chance to contact him. So thank you very much for that for that information. As you said, one of our PhD student, at least the one I know, she's working in this area, but in the area of digital literacy, probably, but looking at the school curriculum. So as you said, I see my role is here, if I could spend time mapping out the expertise in different departments, and hopefully with a little bit of financial support from the university can put people together and had this chance to exchange ideas and formulate ideas for, no matter it's a new research project or reinforcing the current project you're doing, or as you said, start offering a new degree course. All the things I think need a clearer mapping of what's going on currently, both from your side and from Arts and Humanities side?
I think it would be very helpful, because left to our own devices, if computer science departments put a new degree course on, for which there are hardly any precedents, it will end up being a kind of hodgepodge of people's hobbies, which is okay if the people are oriented in the right direction. So I think it is an interesting opportunity.
Absolutely. I also hope to, Sean, Dr. Sean Rees, the previous director, already put me in touch with the gentleman from the library, I think, managing this website. I also hope another thing is to update this probably more regularly as part of the attempt to mapping up the expertise in this area, to send, maybe hopefully to be more regularly give people information what has been done in this area, because if the information is giving out as not as the right frequency, I think there were so many competing interests and centers research activities, and I don't want people to forget about CODA. Fostered so many interesting projects, and it could be, again, a hope for our future.
Do you think anyone could organize a project to document, archive, and write about the effect of the move to an online life of our university?
Just based on our university?
Yeah, our university. Well, the raw material is all around us. And many people, including myself, would simply say, until this situation arose, it wasn't so absolutely clear how much of our professional lives were online already. And obviously, the extreme sort of reduction of or the negation of face-to-face interactions is one of the key parameters. If you wanted to understand how online the world was, and you were going to do this in January, your problem would be to get a bunch of people to only communicate by online in order to compare it with how it works in let's say, a normal blended way. But we have that experiment going right now, thanks to this disease. And it strikes me that right in front of us is an enormous amount of phenomena that would be very relevant to understand not just where we're going in the future, but the nature of the online world. Yeah.
There are a lot of research projects surrounding COVID-19. When I looked the last time on the shared Google Doc, that's only people who entered their information. I could share that with you as well. Worldwide, there were entered almost close to 300 projects on researching COVID-19 and its social cultural implications. What you suggest, I thought that's totally worth probably a bigger project, not just limited to Swansea University. How, from the research perspective, it's really interesting how work style, lifestyle was affected, or to a large degree is only just an extension of already partially our online presence.
Yes, in many ways, seen from the world that we live in, which has a lot of digital material, because at the end of the day, a university is a machine for educating and producing paper. But of course, now this paper, and for many years, has been natively digital. And so there is an abstract set of features that you could try to look at. What are the key features of an organization like a university? Of course, the fact that it's very international in its outlook already means that we're heavily using communication technologies and have been, I don't know, I've got about 40 years of email somewhere, although of course it's probably not kept and thrown away by people who are supposed to keep this stuff. But, you know, it's just extraordinary how one could think of a university organization as a very special kind of professional world that is global and always has been international. It's heavily associated with the emergence of these technologies. Even the emergence of email as a phenomenon starts with the fact that people were exchanging files, and these files could contain a message rather than a piece of code. So the conceptual basis is very rich in universities. It's no ordinary organization. That's what I'm saying. I mean, you could obviously try to do this in any professional modern organization. Of course you can. However, the reality is that our institutions are particularly rich and representative of a professional online world before it became exclusively online.
Yeah.
So if you could rustle up a nice big project with some chums at other universities, we could all do a big analysis of how Swansea coped, produce lots of interesting archives for my history of computing collection, and you know, it would be quite revealing as long as it was theoretically well founded, of course.
Yeah.
Alan, good to see you.
Yeah, I'm sorry for being late
Hello,
at
Alan.
the meeting, and so I've just caught up with the questions rather than the talk. But when you're talking there, it was reminding me very early, well, it's not that early in the days of email, but certainly in rollout into offices, there was a study done between, I think it was Xerox and Open University, and Xerox were a bit ahead of the Open University in this, exactly on the introduction of email into the Open University and the way in which it changed the patterns of communication, typically added rather than changed, as I think it's right. was the overall message. But yeah, so there is a long, in some sense, which I'm sure will be joy to your years, John. There's a long history of the university as a means to study this kind of thing. Yeah.
Yeah, and there are a lot of really core issues that would come up because this amazing situation we're in has not just got operational structure, but it's also got a lot of conceptual insight into how we all operate. Because it works. It simply works. Not perfectly, of course, because there's nothing to beat being together. That's particularly better, but it really does work. We have survived this in terms of our professional conduct.
Yes, I think probably computer science would be the least affected. My daughter has been part of the coding club before every other her club activities moved online. Coding club was the first. It wasn't really affected much because otherwise she would go to Markham building sitting in front of a computer anyhow.
Yeah, but she'd be with other people.
Yes, that's the part we do miss. Yes.
And of course, this will have all kinds of implications for those people that worry about the role of role models in gender stereotyping and other things like that. So everything gets a little bit of a opportunity to question, you know. But I miss the Markham building, I must say, because I think the atmosphere there is very special.
Just so just a little observation from when I was listening. I said it's mostly on the questions, but it was interesting that the thing about being a paper organisation that is now largely, that paper is electronic. And certainly a few years ago, so this was some years ago, I was in a different institution where there was a lot of overseas activity. And one of the, let's get this right, including franchised courses. And one of the issues that came up was one point was the fact that the paper for the certificates was not thick enough for. And there is an interesting thing about when paper actually matters, and the final degree certificate, the physical weight of the paper was really important to some of the students. So anyway, just I thought that's there are in terms of this reflection. I mean, it's true of our the interpersonal side of it, but exactly which are the bits where the physical, whether it's physical presence, whether it's physical artifacts, whether it's being in a laboratory, as opposed to those that don't. And I said, as you said, John, we're in the middle of an experiment where we're actually really being forced to reflect on that.
If we were in this a long time, I would have seen in my lifetime, instead of the emergence of theories of being online and networked, you know, the early Castells papers and stuff, I would have seen to a new era where people are writing about the theories of the physical from an online point of view.
No, and that's actually, I was going to say, I've spent quite a time studying physicality, and it has often been that seeing the digital version of things helps you reflect and understand far better what's going on in the physical world in a way that you don't normally, because you're blinded to it by being so present. So yeah, I would absolutely agree. Yeah.
So what would you like us to do?
Oh, thanks, John. I'm currently awaiting information from my college research director with regards to budgeting, because in the end, as you said, we miss seeing people face to face. We hope this lockdown only affected TB1. Hopefully from TB2, things will gradually be back to normal. People will be able to see each other physically. So when I get the information about how much money we have to plan out activities for the next academic year, I think we could probably, as you know, we discussed a sandpit workshop to bring people together. I think that's a long overdue event for the center. The other thing, for the first semester TB1, my plan would be probably first to send out emails to all members and ask people if they could kindly reply me with some update of their own research in this area. And I also plan to organize the postgraduate research student into this community. So therefore, I will always also email you all if you think you're a postgraduate research student researching this related area, and please send their contact to me. So I'll create a postgraduate network within the CODA, and also enlist the help from postgraduate research students in terms of updating this website properly and organize activities. And if there's the possibility, I was even thinking of some kind of a less serious, like a casual issues, for example, just like Friday evening when you have a pint and have a debate, kind of casually. It's better things all moved online, digital intimacy a good thing or bad thing, such, you know, kind of lighthearted issues related in the area. In terms of invited speaker, I've already secured one for TB1 who kindly offered to give the talk via Zoom, so there wouldn't be much cost involved. He's the technology officer from RNIB Robin, and he worked in this area, especially on accessibility, for I think more than 20 years, hugely knowledgeable. I think it would be a brilliant speaker to both computer science colleagues and people from arts and humanities. Then of course I would send out emails to colleagues. If you know someone you think could be a fantastic speaker, and to probably TB1, probably would be via Zoom. That would be fantastic. We'll schedule speakers lecture talk and have a online presence, have a postgraduate student network. So that would be the first few things came to my mind.
Right, good. Well, I'm going to wish you luck over one very important thing, and that is getting personal control of that website.
Right, that's a very useful piece of advice. Thank you.
If you control the website, you control the world.
And the social media, not just the websites, social media.
Okay, I'm just going to step in and say thanks to Jan for taking the time to talk to us today. Sorry about the issues again with passwords.
No worries.
It was a great talk, and as we said, we'll make it the file available on our website for people to catch up with the talk. And thanks so much to everybody that continues to support this on Zoom. I've put the title of next week's talk in the group chat, and we'll send out details again for that later in the week. And thank you very much.
Thank you very much for organizing this. Thank you everybody for turning up. I really appreciate all your suggestions.
Bye-bye.
Bye.